Cognitive dissonance. Noun. Psychology. The state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as relating to behavioral decisions and attitude change. How do you identify cognitive dissonance? Sign number 1, squeamishness, feeling uncomfortable. Sign number 2, avoidance, specifically avoiding conflict. Sign number 3, ignoring the facts, do as I say, not as I do. Sign number 4, talking yourself off the ledge, rationalization. Sign number 5, dear eyes, fear of missing out. Sign number 6, Homer Doe syndrome, shame. Sign number 7, I've messed up, guilt.
So my son brings home this poem that they did in school. It's like a quick quiz they do. It's the white man's burden, Paris soap. And the funny thing about it is, this shit is fucking racist as fuck. It's indoctrination. They're still doing. I'm like, why in the fuck is this shit is still in the school's curriculum? And I'm like, but I get it. The teachers have no control over it. It's the school board. I'm pretty sure. But this shit is like, what the fuck? 2020, y'all still doing this? I know it's been out, but this is my first time seeing it. He brought it home to me. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, so the poem is on here. I'm going to let y'all hear it. I'm going to show you the answers he got. 9 out of 10 children will be indoctrinated by this shit, by bullshit like this, white and black. They fucking our kids up with this old ass doctrine. I mean, this shit ain't history. This is, why the fuck they even teaching this bullshit? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, the white man's burden. Like we was a burden to the white man, raping our women and using our children as alligator bait. That was a burden. Disturbing someone's culture.
Destroying people's culture.
The fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? This shit is crazy. Really, y'all check this poem out, man. This shit is sick. But yeah, he brought this home, I was like, what the hell?
Take up the white man's burden, send forth the best ye breed. Go bind your sons to exile, to serve your captives' need. To wait in heavy harness on fluttered folk and wild, your new caught sullen peoples, half devil and half child. Oh, take up the white man's burden, in patience to abide, to veil the threat of terror and check the show of pride, by open speech and simple, 100 times made plain, to seek another's profit and work another's gain. Take up the white man's burden, the savage war and peace. Fill full the mouth of famine and bid the sickness cease. And when your goal is nearest, the end for others sought, watch sloth and heathen folly bring all your hope to naught. Take up the white man's burden, no tawdry rule of kings, but toil of serf and sweeper, the tale of common things. The ports ye shall not enter, the roads ye shall not tread. Go make them with your living, and mark them with your dead. Take up the white man's burden, and reap his old reward. The blame of those ye better, the hate of those ye guard. The cry of hosts ye humour, are slowly toward the light. Why brought ye us from bondage, our loved Egyptian night? Take up the white man's burden, you dare not stoop to less, nor call too loud on freedom to cloak your weariness. By all ye cry or whisper, by all ye leave or do, the silent, sullen peoples shall weigh your God and you. Take up the white man's burden, have done with childish days. The lightly proffered laurel, the easy, ungrudged praise, comes now to search your manhood through all the thankless years, cold edge with dear bought wisdom, the judgment of your peers.
The Second Coming by William Butler Yeats. Source: The Collected Poems of W. B. Yeats, 1989. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer, things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world, the blooded tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned, the best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand, surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of spiritus munda troubles my sight, somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun is moven. Gee, its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep we're vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle, and what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born.
Now here is his answers to the poem, to how the Africans depicted. He put unholy and unable to help themselves. Look at that shit. Number 2, what is the white man's burden? He got colored people. Then 3 is, what culture or group of people do you find, easy to stereotype? He pretty much said, Asians cannot drive and Americans are racist. That's fucked up. But our child has been taught. You know what I'm saying? I know he will not be indoctrinated. But he was just going off based what he heard and understood from the poem. But a lot of kids ain't lucky. They don't have parents like he do. See, what they are doing is they are teaching the white child that you are superior. And they are teaching the black child you are inferior. This is high school, people. And let me let y'all in on a little secret. Don't let me get started on the foreigners. Before they even get here, they indoctrinate their ass. They go through a full-fledged seminar on black people and how to conduct themselves around us. It's not a game, people.
The Fairbank Darky twins on the Gold Dust package are as familiar to the average housewife as the face of the family clogmain farmer. April 1, 1897. The Gold Dust twins were a pair of African American caricatures displayed on a popular box of washing powder from the 1880s to the early 1900s. These twins, grotesquely referred to as the Darky twins by the Maine farmer in 1897, symbolized racial attitudes that Victorians often held at the time. But who were the twins? And why should we be talking about washing powder? Soap in the late 1800s represented more than the physical aspect of getting clean. The Victorian idea of cleanliness became tied to the concept of imperialism and Victorian superiority. Many Victorians, as it is well known, felt superior to the people they colonized, from Africans and Indians to indigenous communities in Canada. Victorians also came to associate whiteness with cleanliness and blackness with dirtiness, a notion co-opted rather successfully by soap manufacturers in racialized advertisements. Take for example an advertisement for Pears soap. This ad plays on the themes of imperialism and racial stereotypes that were common to the Victorian era. In the image to the left you have an African child being placed into a tub and about to be washed with Pears soap, which is held in the hand of the white child. In the next image, the African child no longer has black skin. The child has been scrubbed clean of its dirtiness, and has thus been civilized, or so it is implied. As the ad reads, "I have found Pears soap matchless for the hands and complexion." This rather horrific advertisement plays on the Victorian mission to civilize colonized peoples. At Dalnavat, the laundry soap on display is Gold Dust washing powder. Gold Dust was an American soap manufactured by the N.K. Fairbank Company in Chicago. This company had factories in both North America and Europe. According to the New York Times, March 17, 1895, this soap was the leading washing powder at the time. It is only fitting then that a box of it lies in the laundry room at Dalnavat. IMG_0737. JPEG, more of an all-purpose cleaner than strictly laundry soap. Gold dust was meant to make the life of a housewife easier. How? Well, the sides of the box depict two African American twins who appear to happily be doing household chores. The twins, incidentally, represent the power and strength of two cleaners in one efficient washing powder. For middle-class Victorians, the less work a housewife could do with her hands, the more time she could devote to leisure activities that would better allow her to mimic the lifestyle of the upper classes. As it stood, one main division between middle and upper class families was that the upper classes never had to sully the hands with simple household chores. That's what servants were for. IMG_0738. JPEG. This image, though, of African American twins happily doing housework is yet another expression of contemporary racial attitudes. Since the washing powder is American, it is a different kind of advertising from that of the Pears Soap Company. Arguably, the image of the gold dust twins align better with slavery in America and the use of Africans for domestic labor than simply Victorian ideas of cleanliness and civilization. But regardless of the difference, racial soap advertisements enforced widespread ideas of late 19th century imperial and racial superiority. Worse, people literally bought into these stereotypes by buying products from N.K. Fairbanks and Pears. Accordingly, the soap on display at Dalnavit goes beyond merely displaying a common household item and instead showcases a connection to the larger forces at play in both North America and the British Empire when it came to cleanliness. The first step towards lightening the white man's burden is through teaching the virtues of cleanliness. Pears soap is a potent factor in brightening the dark corners of the earth as civilization advances, while amongst the cultured of all nations it holds the highest place. It is the ideal toilet soap. Think it's a game. This is how they still feel about you to this very day, and if they didn't, they wouldn't be still teaching this indoctrination/particular curriculum in 2020.
Yes, let me say this before I forget. We, the black delegation, like to thank George Washington and Andrew Jackson for their great contributions to the black community. We thank you and we love you. Happy President's Day.